So we're going to talk about some tips and tricks when resculpting mane or tails or other items. So a couple of things that I have gotten questions on is there anything else we can use other than Apoxie Sculpt to do this? And the answer is yes and no. A couple of things that people have asked me if they could use is clay. The answer is no. You can't use any baking media like you find at a lot of craft stores where you can sculpt something and then stick it in the oven. Can't do that with this. Of course, this will melt if you put it in the oven. Also be very bad for your health. There's also other things called epoxy stick. It's kind of the same stuff as this, except this comes in a tube, and the tube is a mix of two things, so I don't know if you can see it there or not, but it's got a blue and a white center in there, and of course what you do is you just cut off what you want, mix it, same as that. The thing is that this is not super good for sculpting purposes, to make lines in the mane and moving stuff around. It doesn't do well. I used this for many years and I still use it today, and what I like to do is I will actually use this in an area that may not necessarily need a lot of like sculpt work, like let's say your tail structure base. I would use this because this is actually easier to get a hold of, because a lot of repairmen for plumbing and just almost anything, you know, this will work. But I use it sometimes as just a tail base to hold on prior to putting on my Apoxie Sculpt, so that when I go in to do the hairlines and so forth. A couple of other things is that I get the question of what should I do if my epoxy did not harden. So what usually happens is that it was not mixed thoroughly, or at least, you know, all the way, so there was some parts where there was more hardener and some parts that didn't get any at all. And that kit is a problem, because what you have to do is you actually have to take all of it off. You've just wasted all of that epoxy, because you can no longer use it, and you have to restart again, and you have to make sure that you mix your next batch 10 times longer if you must. I also got a couple questions about what should I do if I have small hairs, like on this model here. This guy here has some relatively small hairs. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some super glue and I'm going to hold him up like this, and what I want to do is I want to take and I want to pour a small amount of super glue right down here at the base where it goes underneath the mane. This will also give this part of the mane more stability because it will harden. And it's a really good way to make sure that everything is stuck and it's not going to come off. I also like to put it on any hairs that may be a little bit smaller, because it's always just a good idea to do that. But you don't have to. I mean, yeah, I do it just because it gives it stability, but if you don't have it, that's okay. But of course, if you do drop your model, that's when you have to worry. So yeah, other than that, you know, Apoxie Sculpt is pretty straightforward. You know, people have used other medias and other different type of clays. The problem is that I've used probably maybe, I would say, 150 different types of clay. I'm serious. And basically I've used everything from basic Apoxie Sculpt to the modeling clay there for plumbing. I've used different drying clays. So from experience, I've determined that durability and overall reaction to painting over it, the Apoxie Sculpt is the best product out there. Now, when I say reaction, I've seen this happen. I used a clay recommended by a fellow artist. She said she had, you know, a very good, easy time with this clay. It was cheap, it worked real good, didn't crack, you know, nothing. But she failed to mention that this clay has allergic reaction to sprayable primer. So she was gessoing all of her horses instead of actually spray priming them, which I was thinking, oh great, you know. So what happened was that I used the clay, I really liked it, it was really good. I was about to go out to go buy some more, and I decided that I'd go ahead and spray my horse, let him dry while I was out. So I sprayed him, and the whole area about 20 minutes later just cracked. It had allergic reaction basically to the primer. So I've had experience with a lot of different clays in terms of durability, falling off shelves, everything under the sun. So yeah, but anyways, Apoxie Sculpt, there's actually quite a few other places that is pretty cheap. Sometimes you can find it at like sculpting stores. I know we have one here. It's basically, it's a place that they do a lot of sculpting, like making cast iron resins and other things like that, and they use the same stuff. So yeah, but anyways, so that's kind of it. You know, if you have any further questions about Apoxie Sculpt, I will do the best I can to answer any further questions. So yeah, thanks for watching.